Here is the dramatic English translation of the 10 points above, maintaining the structured format and consistent length for each section. The fall of the power icon at Milton Keynes. After 2 decades of ruling with an iron fist, Christian Horner was finally forced to descend from the throne he built himself. July 2025 witnessed the dramatic end of a golden era for a man who delivered 14 World Championship titles to Red Bull. This decision was not merely a change in position, but a political earthquake that fundamentally shook the entire Formula One paddock. Horner, once considered untouchable, now had to walk out of the team's headquarters with his head held low in defeat. His departure marked the end of the stability that had been the foundation of the team's success for the past 20 years. The racing world gasped to see how a master architect of victory could be discarded so easily when internal storms hit. It was a tragic end to a long devotion that concluded in a cold, uncompromising corporate boardroom. This marks the definitive end of an era that redefined modern Grand Prix racing history. The tragedy of the crippled RB21 performance. The war machine that usually dominated the tracks suddenly lost its bite in the brutal 2025 season. The RB21 car, which was supposed to be a technical masterpiece, instead became a nightmare for the drivers at every single circuit.
Red Bull, usually leading at the front, faced the humiliation of sitting fourth in the constructors' standings, squeezed between rivals. This technical failure became the primary justification for central management to conduct a massive cleanup of the leadership ranks. The lost speed was not just an aerodynamic issue, but a symbol of the team's lost direction under intense internal pressure. Every lap became torture for Max Verstappen, who had to fight tooth and nail just to secure a podium position. This failure proved that at the top of the world, one wrong step can drop a giant into a deep abyss of failure. There is no place for weakness in the world's most expensive sport, and Red Bull is now feeling it. Oliver Mintzlaff, the executioner from headquarters. Behind the scenes, Oliver Mintzlaff acted as a cold executioner, carrying out orders from the Austrian base. He did not look at history or past merits, but only at the performance figures that continued to decline significantly. Firmly, he stated that the team had become trapped in a state of complacency that was toxic to future progress. Mintzlaff performed surgical intervention to save what remained of Red Bull's glory before it was completely too late. For him, Horner's departure was a necessary evolution for the organization to keep breathing amidst fierce competition. There is no room for sentimentality when millions of dollars and global reputations are at stake in the boardroom.
This bold move shows that absolute power at Red Bull has now shifted into the hands of corporate management. The executioner has set a ruthless new standard where success is the only currency. Anyone deemed a burden will be removed without hesitation for the sake of absolute efficiency. Cold War and toxic atmosphere in the paddock. The team garage, which usually served as a place for victory celebrations, turned into a chilling Cold War battlefield every week. Tensions between Christian Horner and Jos Verstappen reached a breaking point after the British Grand Prix in 2025. The arguments were no longer about racing strategy, but personal attacks that destroyed the morale of the entire mechanical crew. This conflict created internal factions that were suspicious of one another, destroying the solid teamwork of the past. This toxic atmosphere seeped into the development center, forcing engineers to work under heavy psychological pressure. There was no longer mutual trust. Instead, there were political games to find who was most to blame. The Red Bull paddock, once respected, became a public spectacle filled with drama and internal scandals. Horner's leadership was deemed to have failed in quenching the flames of a dispute that grew larger every day. Destruction from within is far more dangerous than any opponent on the track. Exile of the legendary mentor, Helmut Marko. It wasn't just Horner who fell. The legendary advisor, Helmut Marko, also had to leave the team tragically.
The man who discovered Red Bull's best talents was accused of conducting illegal maneuvers without official approval. Whether it was betrayal or a mere oversight, Marko is now alienated from the inner circle he helped build himself. He left with bitterness, alleging dirty games played by his former colleagues within the team hierarchy. Marko's departure leaves a massive void in the young driver development program that was the team's core identity. Without the doctor's sharp eye, the future of Red Bull's driver pipeline now sits in a state of real uncertainty. Marko, who was always vocal, is now forced into silence by new policies that strictly limit his movements. It was a forced eviction for a veteran who dedicated his entire life to the Red Bull logo. A very bitter end of the road for a mentor who had nurtured many great world champions. The appointment of Laurent Mekies as the savior. In the ruins of the old leadership, Laurent Mekies emerged as the figure expected to bring a sense of new stability. His task was not just to lead, but to reunite the pieces of a team shattered by the egos of previous leaders. Mekies brought a more modern and collaborative approach, trying to erase the culture of fear within the organization. His decision to focus on technical aspects began to yield results as RB21's performance slowly improved again. His presence provided fresh air for the mechanics who had felt neglected amidst the intense political conflicts.
Mekies must prove that he can step out of the shadow of Christian Horner's dominant and charismatic legacy. He is the symbol of transition from an era of charismatic leadership to an era of measured and systematic management. His success in a short time provides hope that Red Bull is not truly finished in the racing arena. A massive challenge now sits on his shoulders to bring the team back to its highest peak. The rampage and rebirth of Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, the hungry defending champion, was initially trapped in deep frustration due to the car's poor performance. However, after the leadership change, he seemed to gain extra energy to rampage across the world's racing tracks. With a car that began to improve in the second half of the season, Max embarked on a phenomenal pursuit of points. He won 6 of the final 9 races, demonstrating his class as the best driver currently on the grid. Although he ultimately lost the title by a slim margin, his fighting spirit proved he has not given up. Max remains the sole reason Red Bull can still compete at the front amidst all the organizational chaos. His dedication to the sport forced the team to keep working hard to fix every existing technical deficiency. Every victory he claimed was a slap in the face to those who doubted his future with the Red Bull team. He remains the center of gravity that keeps this team from falling apart due to internal conflicts.
The threat of a mass exodus of genius minds. The departure of Horner and Marko triggered fears of a massive exodus of vital technical staff members. Adrian Newey and Jonathan Wheatley had already said their goodbyes, leaving an intellectual void that is hard to fill. Red Bull is now threatened with losing its technical identity, which has been the key to its track dominance. Talented engineers are starting to look at offers from rival teams, promising stability and higher salaries. Losing these genius minds could mean long-term ruin for car development in the crucial years to come. The new management must work extra hard to convince the remaining staff to stay loyal to the corporate vision. Without key people behind the scenes, Red Bull is just a name without any capable innovation power left. This threat is far more terrifying than losing points on the track in just one competition season. The team's future now depends on their ability to retain top talent amidst the storm of change. A high-stakes gamble toward the 2026 regulations. Red Bull is now stepping into great uncertainty with their independent engine project alongside the giant Ford. Without Honda's help in the future, they must be able to produce a competitive power unit from scratch on their own. This is the biggest gamble in the team's history, determining if they remain giants or become losers. Losing experienced leaders during this technological transition is seen by many as a suicidal move for the team.
However, Mintzlaff remains convinced that independence is the only way to fully master the future of Formula One. Massive investments have been poured into building advanced engine facilities at the Milton Keynes headquarters. If this project fails, then all the sacrifices and leadership changes made will be entirely in vain. The world will see if Red Bull powertrains can match the greatness of Ferrari, Mercedes, and also Audi later. This is the ultimate test for the new management's vision of breaking free from external dependence. A new dawn or eternal sunset for the Red Bull. Now, Red Bull Racing stands at a crossroads between a bright new dawn or a pathetic eternal sunset. This radical organizational transformation has changed the face of the team forever in the eyes of fans and foes. Whether the sacrifice of Christian Horner will yield sweet results or become the start of a slow downfall remains seen. Only time will tell if Laurent Mekies and the new management can maintain the high standards of this legendary team. Max Verstappen remains the ultimate key, but his loyalty will be tested by the car's performance in the coming years. This team no longer belongs to one or two people, but is a racing corporation hungry for absolute efficiency. History will record 2025 as the most dramatic turning point in the journey of this Austrian racing outfit. Loyal fans can now only hope that the Red Bull will return to charge with full strength in the next season.
The end of this long drama is merely the beginning of a new chapter full of mystery and challenges.